should be one of the basic mode of recruitment, because
as part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA, I've already tasked our investigative bodies to bring the culprits of the National Service Ghost Name scandal to justice.
Right. You're still here on Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guest in the studio, former Deputy Minister of Finance, Stephen Amwa, Dr. Stephen Amwa. I have also Felix Kwachi Ofosu also here, and he is in charge of government communications. And of course, Bobby Banson is a lawyer, teaches the law, but very familiar with a lot of financial transaction matters. And you saw his area of interest. He went to the GIPC. Right. Prince Henry Nkofrodia says, why is Sticker saying John Mahama didn't give the true state of the nation? Is Dr. Amwa not aware that national service personnel were owed 4 months before they left power? John Mahama will deliver. So let's support him to give us the Ghana we deserve. Excellence Reign says John Mahama is a great leader, and Ghanaians must thank God for giving the country such a leader. He has taken the task upon himself to fix the mess created by the Akufo-Addo government. Dela T says the problem with Dr. Amwa is that he's too book long. So when he's asked a practical question, he gets jittery, frustrated, and starts throwing tantrums. Okay. Collins Little Tete says, while some may view the NPP's press conference as routine or predictable, they play a significant role in the democratic process by ensuring that multiple perspectives are heard and that the government remains accountable to the people. Certainly, if they didn't do that, then they would have checked their responsibility as a responsible opposition. They have to do that. We have to get to know where, if the government is giving gaslighting us, we must get to know. But I want all of them to try and be faithful to the facts to start with. As simple as that. Right. Okay. So, should I read a few more messages? Okay. I think Ernest says that, okay, please ask in the end, if the economy was all good, why were we not paying our debts? Thank you. And relative to agricultural growth, to the country, food inflation, does it make sense? Okay, everybody and the way they are processing what is going on. Okay, please, I don't discuss my take, so I don't really read messages about them. The police officers, those of you who are not happy that I said there shouldn't be a crusade to remove Dampare. Okay, so, and at the risk of, doing something I don't do, so this is how I do my things sometimes. I knew Dampare from nowhere. When he showed up and showed that we can get crime down, we can get people to respect, we can get people to comply with law. It doesn't matter who you are. He was arresting MPs and doing all of that. That's what I do. I just support such people. For example, what's his name? Oliver Bakavomo. I knew him from nowhere. Once he showed up and this messed system, he was beginning to speak directly to it and provide solutions, he became a friend. That's how I do my things. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about National Service Ghost Name, SkyTrain, and Abronye. The president said that, and I'm going to begin with you, Felix. The president said that he has directed, he has asked them to put people on wanted lists. I was getting a little worried that he should be saying these things. Oral is very important to him in the scheme of things.
Yeah, but ultimately he has responsibility for the government, and you know
that the Attorney General does not go to court, at least on some matters, without recourse to the president. So the decision to prosecute people is something that has executive backing, often. Samson, you are right. Oral was a key plank in the NDC 2024 campaign. And if I am not exaggerating, perhaps besides the 24-hour economy, it was the most popular campaign promise. Now, you would ask yourself, how come it became so popular? I think the reason was simple. People saw visible signs of corruption. People saw that there were people in government whose lifestyle did not readily match what they were supposed to be earning. I mean, the scandals used to break out. You, on this program, have delved into many of them. So it was obvious that people were yearning for a certain level of accountability. That is how come Oral became so popular. When the Oral Committee was set up, it gained tremendous public support. In fact, they were inundated with claims and allegations.
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000 of them. It shows a certain high level of public interest. Now, having been elected with such a wide margin, which margin you can legitimately infer was also contributed to by public expectation that he would take action against evidence of corruption, meant that he had to do what he had promised the people, which is to look into the claims of corruption, and where there is sufficient basis to hold anybody to account, do so. So the oral report was presented about 3 weeks ago, and it has a tall list of cases in which specific individuals have been identified as persons of interest. Let's put it that way at this point. Now, it was necessary then to move on to conduct proper investigations through accredited state agencies in order to determine whether there was a basis to hold anybody accountable for anything. So the security agencies began their action. Let me say that the Attorney General has also been instrumental, but he has studied the document, and where he believes that there is basis for people to be brought in for questioning, he has indicated so and worked with the security agencies to do so. At least 3 cases have come to public attention. The first being the National Service scandal, where 2 people, I believe, I think an accountant and the former deputy executive director, have been taken in for questioning. Through lawful means, nobody's rights have been abused or anything. At least I have not heard the lawyers complain so, which was not the case in the past. Something, what happened was that, I think early this year, early February, the National Service Secretariat, the new leadership, inherited a certain structure. So they made representations to the finance minister about arrears that dated back to August of 2024, and said that this was creating suffering for National Service personnel, and therefore there was a need to clear it. All of it amounted to about 226 million eventually. But the finance minister saw the figures. And what happens is that every month, the National Service Secretariat, or authority, I beg your pardon, sends a letter to the Controller and Accountant General, sends the number of people on their payroll, and indicates the amount of money that have to be paid. So on 4th, 30th December 2024, that was when the last letter was sent, and that is what the new leadership was following up on. They indicated that they had 180,030 National Service personnel who needed to be paid a total amount of 128.8 million Ghana cedis. Now, the finance minister became suspicious, and therefore he demanded a head count. When that head count happened, we found out it was just about 98,000 service personnel who were actually posted and who were working. So based on this, the finance minister was able to pay all the outstanding arrears dating back to 4th August. It became obvious, therefore, that tens of thousands of names had been put on the payroll in a manner that constituted clear payroll fraud. And before this government took over, Samson, you are aware that there have been, let me say, murmurings and grumblings in some corridors about ghost names. Admittedly, it's not the first time. You spoke about having to defend some people who were caught in this way. President Mahama commissioned discrete investigations. I was going to say clandestine, but that would be highly irregular. Discrete investigations into the matter. And it turned out at the time that some 55,000 ghost names or so had been added. And you know what happened. Everybody in charge of anything was swept aside and put on trial. About 100 people or so were put on trial. You had to defend some of them. We are here to get an update because we left power before those trials were concluded.
In those trials, yes, because I was involved, let me tell you, at least for some of my clients, they admitted to their wrong. So I made them put in a plea for guilty, and then they were made to pay, and then they went free.
That is fine.
Yeah.
But at least we exacted some punishment for doing so. So one would have thought that learning from this, those who take over will put in place systems to improve upon it so that these things do not happen. But it turns out that the situation has worsened to the extent that if you go back, I have letters dating back to October 2024, where they were demanding payment for 150,000 people. In November 2024, they were demanding payment for 180,000 people. Then, on 30th December 2024, they brought another one demanding payment for 180,000 people, which meant that these monies have been going into individual. Indeed, we estimate that on the average, every month, 50 million Ghana cedis went into the pockets of those behind this scheme. And if you total the period that this has been going
50
on,
million.
50 million Ghana cedis every month. And that is money that Chika and his colleagues in the finance ministry could have used for any number of investments in other sectors of the economy. So this is clear fraud that cannot be countenanced. Unfortunately, some of the people involved are said to have absconded. There are some who have gone into countries knowing that we do not have what do you call that? Non-surrender agreements, extradition agreements with them. They've gone there specifically to evade justice, but steps are being taken to ensure that they are brought back. But at least 2 people have now been held, they've been questioned, and due process will take place. There's also the matter of the Sky Train, where
so the NSS matter, the president speaks about it, and it's almost conclusive. You just spoke about it, and you look at something which is clearly fraud.
It is clear. It is clear.
But we are going to put this before court.
Of course. The basis upon which the Attorney General will go to court is the fact that he is convinced that there's wrong. Otherwise, he won't go and waste his time.
Okay, the Attorney General says you will not put a matter in court when he has not done the investigation.
But you see, sometimes it's so. You see, my brother is wearing a green attire. I cannot say it is blue. You know, it is so glaring. It is something. When you see the letter, you bring a letter for 180,000 people to be paid, and we are not talking about the beginning of national service. This is several months down the line. You cannot allege that you thought 180 people were at post, but they didn't show up. This is several months down the line. And then when you ask for a head count, you get almost half the figure. And this has been going on.
You were moving on to the Sky Train matter.
I think $2 million.
And many people will also remember that the NSS matter, the Fourth Estate Media Foundation for West Africa Group, also did their own
I have seen
data analysis.
Where
data analysis.
Who are as old as 95 years old are said to be doing national service.
Yeah, I have seen them.
50-year-olds. I have 60-year-olds certainly could not have been within the
when the injunction was procured against the Fourth Estate from going public, I went as their lawyer to get it.
And you see, the evidence is compelling.
Yeah,
it is so compelling.
So
but
I've seen some of those. Exactly. But from where I sit, I always say, let's put them before the court.
It's a fundamental principle that nobody can quarrel with. But some of the evidence.
You're going to Sky Train. Briefly about that and the Abronye's matter.
Some $2 million or so is said to have been paid to an entity for work that cannot be readily verified. And therefore, there's an element of causing financial loss to the state or any other number of charges that can be gleaned from that activity. So there to Professor Amoyokunfi, who is the board chairman of GIF. It is GIF that actually paid the money. The money came from them. And the chief executive, and then Mr. Jogati, who is the former minister. They are persons of interest. So all of them have been invited and they've been questioned pending further investigations.
Jogati is clear that there's nothing untoward.
No problem. Of course, he's entitled to state.
He'll come out clean. Yeah.
He's entitled to state. We respect that. Due process must take its course. But as of now, the Attorney General believes that there are questions to be answered, and therefore he's conducting these investigations.
Is it a matter of fact that $2 million indeed was paid
it is
for no work done?
It has been paid, and yet the work for which it has been paid is not clear. So they must show what specific work was done with this money, and that is why the platform will be created for them. If indeed the Attorney General believes that there's sufficient basis to go to court to present
$2 million paid for zero work.
They said we were going to do Sky Train. We were going to do Sky Train. We were here. It was a huge matter. We went to sign some contracts with some company whose formation even raises questions about their capacity to deliver and all that. But there's no indication as to the work that has been done to merit that payment. That is why the Attorney General is looking into it. There's also the matter of Mr. Ofoyata. I know that the OSP is looking into some matters. But Mr. Ofoyata is also allegedly complicit in some of even these cases that I have mentioned. And therefore, Does he not believe that he has questions to answer? Of course, he has indicated that he is indisposed, not in the jurisdiction, and he will come at a certain date. When he comes, every opportunity will be afforded him to answer for specific actions that he took and justify why further actions should be.
Abronye's situation, people say this is wild stuff that in the political milieu they have made. So why do you want the security to go after him?
I am even surprised that you've tabled for discussion. You know, sometimes I am of the view that sometimes not everything that you follow. Some of the claims, with the greatest respect to everybody, yes, pure nonsense.
So why wouldn't the president tell the investigative bodies that don't pursue
the president
this?
has not been interested in this. He has not lodged any complaint. So sometimes the security agencies feel they must look into it. I don't think that some of these claims should be followed. That's my personal view. There are those who would argue that it has security implications. If you say that the presidency is hoarding, I am at the presidency. You know, since the ministry was collapsed, I've had to pitch camp at the presidency.
They are hoarding 550 million, which is supposed to be used to be paid to pay those to be dismissed from the place.
How? No, how? Who has been dismissed? No, I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Anyway. So it's not something I want to spend waste any time on. He himself has gained a reputation for saying things that, with the greater respect, do not make any sense.
The wheels of justice, they say, grind slowly, but they come to a certain end.
Grind efficiently.
Right, thank you.
I'm not sure whether...
Let's hear from Dr. Stephen Amoah. How do you feel about these things that are beginning to come up, and then we see spirited defense from the NPP spokespersons all over the place?
Samson, thank you very much. It's good that these issues, I'm sure you're in a better position to even analyze them more than me. I'm a financial economist, but I think you made a very good point that there are issues that generally people can comment based on what is prevailing. Samson, I think all these issues, as of now, still remain something that one cannot draw any inferences on them. Because what does the Constitution say? 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana talks about the fact that one cannot be declared or pronounced, or whatever your terminology is,
presumed
guilty,
innocent
unless a court
proven,
of competent jurisdiction,
or you have yourself admitted your guilt.
And it also talks about the opportunity to be given fair hearing.
That's right.
So I think as we are here at this juncture, there still remain allegations. I'm not condemning what is going on, and I'm not saying they are right. Okay. The only concern I have is that when the NDC came into power this time, within the shortest possible time, I think the speed is almost comparable to the speed of light. Those known to be NDC members, and by saying this, I'm not saying they have also committed anything wrong. I can't say that. Most of them are my friends and my brothers. And even apart from that, I have to be honest with you and God that I don't have any reason credibly to say they are wrong or right. But they were going through the judicial processes, which were their legal mandates. And then they were cleared without any investigation, nothing, all of them. Does it mean that what the Constitution says, Article 17, about the fact that we are all equal before the law, is not being adhered to?
You are talking about the withdrawals and nolli prosequas.
Those things. I'm not a legal person, so I may be wrong. If I go wrong, forgive me.
Can we refocus the debate to what is happening?
But I'm talking about the same thing. They are not different. I'm talking about why...
That's a subject we have.
So why the selective justice?
Okay.
Why the selective justice? Because I think they should have also allowed others to go through the processes and come out clean. Probably all of them hadn't even done anything bad. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So why they were asked to go somewhere? And the others, we had to set a new body to get people based. And we are talking about... Is it
your view that because this has happened, if there is suspicion of wrongdoing about anybody in the SWAL administration, they should also be let go?
No, not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Not at all, but I'm saying that Article 17 says what? Equality before the law. Equality. Fair playing field. Justice. That's what we are talking about. But is that what we are seeing today? And then something. One thing I'm also surprised at is that it looks like we are behaving like my brother Felix made a comment. And a lot of people made this comment. And the other day, on the floor of the parliament, maybe because of his busy schedule, I don't know whether he was there. I advise all of us that we should all be careful that things, when we are in government or even in opposition, we say about each other. That Ghanaians, some people see you not having much, then as soon as you come to power, you're having a lot. Something. You may be here today, you have your legal practices, you may be doing other things other people do not know. Honestly, I can tell you as a matter of fact, and I'll not mention name, ethically, that there are people who own properties and mansions today, they have big cars today, they are politicians. That I personally, and they are in NDC, that God is my witness that I used to give them money. It doesn't mean they can't be richer than me today, because you don't know what they are doing. So this perception that somebody is in politics, he's rich or otherwise, I think they are statements that we should all be careful, not defining us in a light that even the public or external stakeholders will form bad.
We know the politicians who are business people, and we know those of them who have a track record of business and we can trace the source of their wealth. But as the Constitution
know all of them.
As the Constitution,
you know all of them.
We know these politicians. And we know those that, I mean, like you and I, we have been friends from when? If suddenly something comes up with you and I don't know the source, I should be a little...
But Samson, when you knew me almost 30 years ago,
right,
I was driving my cars.
Of course.
You knew me?
Yeah.
I wasn't driving the car bought for me by my father.
That's right.
When you knew me, as early as 1997, I was having my cars and my properties. I'm sure from that time to now, you don't know the additional things I do. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I am talking about. So let us be careful and make sure that we stay within the stipulates of the law and make sure that we don't... I'm one person that, you see, asset declaration is a good thing. But if you really understand how a financial economic structure or system is done properly per the standards of the world, will create a lot of problems. Okay. But we live in a country that sometimes you're even paid not through the right means. In fact, I was even suggesting that if you had one power, I would have advocated for the fact that if you are working with anybody on a regular basis and you are paying the person more than 500, it has to go through the bank. Because something, let's be honest, the way our system is, if we all want to be very honest, you may jail somebody who might not necessarily be guilty or even otherwise, or even let somebody go scot-free who might be guilty. So there are a lot of things we need to look at critically.
Unless you don't trust our courts.
Can I come back to the railways? I'm saying, allow me to also...
Oh, you are not coming back to railways. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Samson, I think the work done by the previous regime when it comes to railway industry, I beg you, I'm not saying the concerns they are raising is rubbish. And that's why the courts are there. They fall within the discussions that I've put on this table right now. But something, we don't have to also live in a country that when there are great accomplishments, achievements, we water them down, creating an impression that everything about NDC, MPP, or government is always specific.
This is specific. That there was a certain sky train.
I don't have a problem.
No, I have to ask you the question. Sorry. Hold on. Let me ask you the question. It's not about somebody's speaker.
Okay, please.
When I have to intervene, I intervene.
It's your table. You go on.
So we are not talking about railway as a global subject matter. We are talking about sky train. There was a project that was a sky train project. We are told that $2 million of taxpayers' money we don't have was spent on that project. As we speak today, there is no sign of any such thing. So that's the issue.
Something, and I said that. I am not saying that what they are saying is trivial. I'm not heaping scorn on that. And it falls within my earlier presentation or submission I just made. That is why the Constitution talks about fair hearing, talks about you can be pronounced guilty or otherwise only by court of competent jurisdictions declaration, or you yourself admitting that guilt. I said that, and it falls within. But I'm also saying that we should always not also dwell on the negatives that go on. It's giving a lot of bad impressions in our society. That what has been achieved, the accomplishment...
Have you seen signs of a sky train? Have you seen signs of a sky train? Is it true that $2 million was paid for the purpose? Can I complete my sentence? Respectfully, can I complete my sentence? I'm just begging you. it's difficult for you two of us doing this, right?
Because you're not making me complete my... At least when I end the sentence, you ask me. That's all that I'm saying. At least when I'm saying, I'm not going to condemn A or B.
We're working with time. Please, quick about it.
All that I'm saying is that in our country, let us also develop a culture of letting people know the good things that we do so that people will be encouraged. Because the railway sector, what was done under Nanado, it is, in my opinion, I could be wrong, unprecedented. But that doesn't mean the issues you are raising should not be given the needed attention that NDC government is giving. That's the point that I'm making.
Okay.
Then I can come to, okay, please, it's okay, take your table.
Go to where you want to go and finish.
I think he's surrendered.
What I'm trying to say is Abronye's thing.
Right.
Abronye's statement about the president, in my opinion, he knows where he got his information from. If I were the president, okay, I would let the due process go on. Do you know why? We live in this country. People say a whole lot of things about Felix, about Stephen, about Samson, about anybody. They go scot-free. And it defines a certain opinion. And the public will see you and they think, hey, you are a thief, you are this. Now people hate politicians. But it's not every politician who is corrupt,
That's
whether
correct.
it's MPP.
That's correct.
And also, sometimes, it clouds even the good things that politicians do in our country. And it's not only Abronye, it's not only under one regime. This thing has been going on for far too long. You live in a society that people conclude on almost everything. Even if a man and woman sitting in one car, oh, they are dating. If somebody has any bad car, either he's a dealer in one thing or he stole money. I think that perception is discouraging a lot of people in our society, even sometimes, to demonstrate what they have for other people to be motivated and work hard.
Right.
So I think the process has to be allowed to take its course. If also Abronye knows that, oh, he made one of the flimsy statements tarnishing the image of our president, he should come and apologize.
Well, he says he feels intimidated and he will not be intimidated. So let him appear before the...
That is all that I'm saying.
The criminal investigation authorities, and let's see
But he might have been
what
privy
happens.
to things we don't know.
Yes, 550 million hoarded in the presidency. And he speaks about, credible sources that he has.
But how could he have known that?
So Bobby, like Stika is saying, well, they are in public service, and the constitutional injunction is that they have to declare assets, and if they have acquired wealth that is not traceable to inheritance, traceable to loan, traceable to gifts, and so on. That would have been acquired in contravention of the Constitution. So once they are in public service, they must also be careful the kind of lifestyle they lead, right? What do you make of the president's pitching of oral as a major plank of his statement, and that these things are beginning to roll out? And do you find problems with him like I do, that he shouldn't be here saying, I've told them to declare somebody wanted? Is that a job of a president to do?
Something the president obviously does not have judicial power. The Constitution is very clear. Article 125, final judicial power rests in the judiciary. I heard the president saying that he has directed the state institutions to investigate and take the necessary steps. Perhaps if he goes ahead to actually direct them what to do, then one would have said that he is influencing the exercise of that authority, because no security service is also supposed to act per the direction of any other person. They're supposed to act based on the evidence and then the law.
This is Ghana. So, they get pet suspects that they give to them to work.
So when Honorable Felix was speaking, I was marking his choice of words, and I must say I was quite impressed. You see, he used words like persons of interest. And he was very careful the words he used, so that it will not be as if there's already a conclusion that these people that are being...
But in fact, that is actually the language used in the oral reports. Persons of interest. They don't say.
Okay, I have not seen the report yet. Okay. So if you so that you will not be tempted to conclude that there's a conclusion somewhere that we must necessarily put these people behind bars, And so every other thing, then you think that, okay, the investigations, everything is only just for the sake of it, but the report has already been concluded. And so if the state entities will follow due process, we've been in this country where the people have been accused, politically exposed persons. They've been put before the courts. At first instance, they've been convicted and sentenced. The conviction and sentences have been overturned on appeal, and even up to the Supreme Court. So I always believe in the judicial system. Whether it goes right or wrong, they are also human beings. They're entitled to make mistakes. But at least the persons who have been accused at whatever levels of the investigation must be afforded the opportunity to go through the due process. I believe that is a fundamental pillar of our constitution and our democratic dispensation, that no president, no politician can either trumpet or be denied that opportunity. Right. And so I'm looking forward to just and honest investigations. The persons that have been affected would have an honest opportunity to put their defenses forward, irrespective of political colorization. Because some of the monies that are being mentioned are monies that could have gone into other projects that will benefit everybody. And so if indeed some of these things have been done, then the people who have done it, not the people who are suspected to have done it, or people merely by virtue of the fact that they occupy certain positions, because there are some times that the people who actually commit these offenses may not be the political heads of these institutions. It's very possible that the political heads of the institutions may not even be aware that some of these things have happened. There are instances where political heads have signed documents that it turned out that the document that they signed were different from the ones that were used to procure the products or the services. And it was only when they were put before court that it turned out that this is not the document that I was signed. And so let's not be quick to jump to conclusions. Sometimes you see that when these stories are put there, pictures of certain heads of those institutions are associated with them. The public perception is fed into it that, oh, this story has been published against this picture. It is very easy for the ordinary person to already, say that, oh, this person is guilty of this.
No, but it's your job to read a story.
That's what I'm saying. It's not everybody that would.
It could be that your picture has been put up, but
yes,
the story about you is different.
That is what I'm saying, that if the headline is there and the picture is put there, some people may just conclude.
That's their
problem. But at the end of the day, the person whose picture has been put there would be wrongly, thought of in a certain way. So I am happy.
Saying, if I haven't said something about you and then you think this is how you are thought of, that's your problem.
Something. I'm not saying that it is right or wrong. Okay. I'm saying for the ordinary person who may not read all the stories, may be quick, yes, to jump to conclusion. So I will be happy if thorough investigations is conducted into these things. But I want to side with, I don't know if I can call you Sticker too.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, he likes to be called Sticker.
Perfect.
I want to side with him on his reaction to Abronye's thing. And Honorable, I think that you should be concerned. Because you see, and sometimes I've made this point several times to you in private and on the platform. Yeah. We are getting into a state in our development as a country that people who have opportunity of platforms say things that they know is not true or ought to have known it's not true. Right. But they just say it and they throw it out there and they walk away. Yeah. And it is now, okay, it's an ordinary politician. Ordinary in quotes.
You are not saying what he's saying is true or not.
No. That's why I said people who say things that they know are not true or ought to have known.
100%.
That's what I said. Say it and just said, oh, it's political talk. They start from maybe you are doing two persons are on the political platform campaigning for maybe MP. Yeah. And then let's throw that at each other for what it is worth. But it is climbing up to the seat of the presidency. Right. And this is the highest seat of the land. Something, if you say 550 million cedis, it is money laundering. It is money laundering because our laws do not permit such cash to be held by any person at all. It is money laundering. If there is serious evidence of it, the OSP should be interested. Or since he says he doesn't have the jurisdiction to strictly deal with money laundering, maybe the Attorney Generals or IOCO should be interested. So I am happy that he's been invited. Of course, it doesn't mean that he's guilty of any offense. If he doesn't have the evidence to prove,
he may decide to apologize and said it is one of those things. But at least...
Would that be enough?
That's what, at least it will serve as a deterrent, not only to MPP people or to NDC people, that there should be a limit in the public discourse.
It's all about the place, claiming he's being intimidated and all of that, and he will not be cowered into submission. Doesn't give any sign.
Yes, but I believe that if that is his posture as well, it may only be because he thinks he has evidence.
That's typical of him. You know him, right?
Sometimes I don't want to assume that I know him.
Concluding here now.
I don't want to assume that I know him.
About what?
Now you say typical of him.
I'm not concluding about anything. Very typical about him.
What I'm saying is,
Okay. He's a type who cannot be on this platform because they spew a lot of
unfounded. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, some really wild claims.
Yes,
I don't know the places where they are hosted. I don't know if the host feel they have a responsibility. You know, and you have, like we are talking about, you have these bloggers all around the place.
That's what I was going to say. There's a particular jurisdiction
simply engaged in pure defamation and insult, but because they feel they are hiding under somewhere they cannot be caught. And there's something must be done about that.
Yes, and let me give you this instance because you mentioned Ora. Last week, I was there when my uncle called me that somebody claims he's from the National Security. He's gone to his property that they've acquired since the 70s in Abronye, that he's been sent by Ora to come and lock the place. I can give you his name here.
I'll be happy to have his name.
That he's been sent by Ora to come and lock the place. So my uncle called me and said, there's a man there with some people that Oral. I said, but Oral has concluded their report and have submitted it to the presidency. And so how can a big compound? So I called the person, he didn't pick. And I sent him a text. And I said that this is what you do that embarrass Ghanaians.
Okay.
And so there are people out there who take some of these things,
for purpose, because of what he said, I'm speaking for government, let me issue a clear disclaimer. Oral was a committee tasked with a specific assignment they have concluded. Even when they were operating, there was no other outlet or branch that permitted anybody to go and lock up anybody's residence or take over anybody's property. We are aware that there are some individuals going around. Indeed, in the last week or so, we've had reports where they're going to paste notices claiming that the Office of the President says people should vacate their bank. I am saying it here as a matter of record that government has done no such thing.
I've seen those.
The Office of the President has done no such. So please report anybody who shows up making such claims.
You see, and
right. Let me bring in Kwame Sapong Esiedu. Thank you, Kwame, for joining us. And Kwame is joining us for particularly the last subject, but we feel that we should pick his brain on this thing about, people being gone after for one thing or the other. Yes, so Kwame, state of the nation, and part of the state of the nation is that wrongdoing has to be punished.
Well, that is good morning, Samson. Good morning to everyone in the studio listening. I mean, the fact that wrongdoing has to be punished is not a question. I mean, we are becoming a lawless society. If people can just do wrong and get away with it. So for me, these things have to be investigated. And I agree entirely with everyone in the studio who says that if someone makes misguided statements, they shouldn't just get away with it. Where I disagree is, they can apologize and that should be the end of the story. No, they shouldn't apologize. And when we come to what I'm here to discuss, I have those same views. We have got to the point where people think eating humble pie as well is a form of restitution when you damage people's lives. It is not. It is not. There are laws in this country and we should learn to obey these laws. So if things have been done, and that's why I'm happy, this person is a person of interest. When they become a suspect, we should be brave enough to also call them suspects because that is a term that is allowed under the law. And when they become convicts, we shouldn't say, they were convicted for political reasons. We should call them convicts. We need to get to the point where we need to dissociate what we do as partisans from crime that people commit in the name of political parties. And stop supporting them simply because we think they align with our political color. And when they committed a crime, and we agree that they committed a crime and have been rightly convicted, then what it means is that our political party is criminal. It doesn't mean that.
You realize that Dr. Abronye has been very careful not to, blanketly go to anybody's defense because the people belong to, his party. But that's the general approach you find around. People who may not have even known the people who have been invited, who do not know where they live, do not know their worth, are all about the place defending and saying this is political witch hunt.
Yes, and that's what I find very, very strange. Especially on social media. You see people who have no idea what happened, who probably haven't read the initial allegations that are being made, are not aware of the extent of the investigation that state security agencies have engaged in, just coming out and defending and saying it's witch hunt, it's this, it's that, it's that. And if you look at something like the Sky claim, for example, without apportioning culpability to anybody, are we honestly saying that as a country we can afford to lose $2 million United States dollars for no work done, simply because the people who took the decision belong to a political party? I think that's preposterous. We need to get to the point where we call people out and say, this is wrong. Do a lot of the people on social media who are defending and saying it's political witch hunt, blah, 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 haven't even seen $10,000 before. They have no clue what $2 million can do for this country. Yet they are defending. And you see, when I see that, I get very, very upset, because it's like, okay, if you come into government, you can get your political goons to gang up when you've committed an error and you've caused financial loss to the state. And in the final analysis, you should be let off because we don't want to upset parties. I think that's ridiculous.
Okay. All right, so we take a break here. When we return, we're going to talk about the opioids, a very dangerous thing that is happening. And when you watch the BBC Africa Eye documentary, I don't know how, if you have seen it, how you process it, watching it. And they take the cameras on these people who are hooked onto the drugs, and they are just destroying their lives. And they take us to the manufacturer of the drug, and he's admitting how they are making this cocktail and how it's literally admitting that they are killing people. They know that they are killing people, and they are bringing it into the country even though it is not approved, it is banned. Stephen, a minute, because you have insisted you wanted to say something.
Something, quick one. With respect to the 2 million Sky train, in fact, I have a memorandum of agreement between the parties, the South Africans, and then the government state agency, as far as 2018. I'm not saying they are wrong or right, but because when my brother Felix was talking, the impression I had was nothing had been put even in place in terms of, but as far as 2018, they had gotten this thing signed in terms of agreement and other things, and it's about 7 years now. So I don't think, because as when my brother who just spoke, he said 2 million, what could be done, which is a fact. But if you don't take care, you suggest that something had been done with the 2 million in terms of squandering state fund or something. But I think we all need also to be very careful to wait and hear from the other side, to allow due processes to be followed so that we can get to the logical conclusions of some of these issues.
You are saying the contract is evidence of something that has been done for $2 million US dollars?
I'm saying that I had impression that nothing had been done. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So once there is this agreement,
I'm sure if something had been done, we would have seen it by now, right?
In fact, it is the MOU is actually the basis upon the investigation. If you're going to sign an agreement, what has been done to warrant?
I've seen that document.
Yes.
I've seen that document.
Let me also explain this to you, because I've been doing investment consultancy for some time, at least from 2009 that his party sacked me. Though I wasn't an appointee. You know, when it comes to some of these agreements, there are phases. Some of them might not have been tangibles, things you can feel and touch. That's why I'm saying that we need to understand this. I'm not really saying that if not anything.
Okay.
Bad. So there could be consultation stage. There could be other engagement that might even be intangible, but it has some cost component. So let us wait and make sure that we get to the point that our comment will not. And the last thing I want to add is this thing about people saying bad things about other people. This media commission or whatever.
National Media Commission.
Exactly. They came. I was shocked to have heard them on one of multimedia's platform that I want to be ethical, not that I'm being controlled by cowardice. That at least a gentleman that has been all over, or some of them all over destroying reputations of families, home, insulting, attacking people, they wrote to his institution. Anyway, it's not multimedia. And that almost 9 times, even the board members there, the management, were saying that they had not seen anything wrong with what the guy was doing.
You're talking about Captain Smart.
No, I don't want to. I want to be ethical. But he's not the only person. A lot of people do these things in Ghana. Within the media fraternity.
Within the local language broadcast.
I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Terrible.
So
there has to be a proper
as a
cleaner.
country,
could be
as a country,
No, but we know that fact. Having an editor. I have edited the local language. Some. That's what I'm saying. I said within. I didn't say all of them.
Normally, it's predominant within the.
There are some
doesn't mean all of
within
them.
that. That's correct.
So let's all begin,
including those cowards who are hiding under, what do you call it, internet, and committing criminal stuff in the name of doing broadcasts. Insult fest every day. That's what they do, and they're churning out a lot of falsehood. And we can't seem to hold them to account. This country can do better than that. We take a break. When we return...
No, Justice Shebafo has a bench warrant against...
There's a bench warrant. That's against Kevin Taylor. And I think the NDC will do a disservice to this country if, in fact, that guy steps his foot into this country and he's allowed to go without execution of the bench warrant on him. Okay? He's defamed a lot of people. They've gone to court. They've gotten judgment. Esan Koma, Gabia Sarachudako, all of them have gotten judgments. But because he thinks he's out of the country, he can get away with it. It shouldn't be right. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.